Commissioner Frings,
Here.
Commissioner Pushki.
Here. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments?
Yeah,
Name and address.
Charles Lohr, LOHR, 221 Oak Street. I have a problem with my water bill. When they replaced the water line, Town and Country guaranteed it would be, my shrubbery and everything around the side of the house would be, just everything would be the way it was. You would never know the difference. Well, that's not true. They came back twice in the first year, and this year I had enough. So I hired Pulse to do the lawn. To fertilize, work up the lawn and the seed, my bill was $643 and change. And I said, okay. He said, and water. And okay, I will. And which I didn't do before. I didn't think it was gonna be this drought type of thing this year. So I watered and I got my bill and I was averaging $69 a month or whatever it is. And my bill, which is the end of May through the middle of June or toward the end of June, was almost $148. So I called the disposal plant or the commission, and my water bill was $39, which is, I don't care about that. But I said, I'm not gonna pay for the fire department and I'm not gonna pay for rubbish pickup. Oh no, it's not included. But my sewer went up 3 times. And it's obvious that when I water my lawn, it's not going through the sewer pipes, wastewater. So that's what I'm here for. I had a terrific expense to put the lawn in and I have to water it, and I watered yesterday. And I probably, some of that is gonna be on my next month's bill, and I'm gonna still continue to water until we get some rain. This didn't do anything today. And I would like your considerations for, well, my water bill was $14.58. I got 4 months here. 2 months were $14.58. 1 month was $19.44. And this month it was $63, almost tripled. That was my sewage bill. So I would like your concession to help me out a little bit. And I think it's going to run into my next month because I just watered yesterday again. And it's been.
So you're asking for just the sewer portion?
What's that?
You're asking for just the sewer portion?
I can't hear you, Bert.
The sewer, you're asking for just the sewer?
Yeah, on the sewer, only the sewer. I don't mind the water. I have to do that.
So what we'll have to do is we cannot make a decision today because it wasn't on the agenda. So we will put this on the agenda for next month's meeting, and then you'll have the bills, right?
Yeah.
Come back next month?
And we can discuss it.
Courtney, did you explain to him about the process of a non-contact meter?
I didn't talk to him at all, so
Because, it's not really fair giving out that for people that put these in for special purposes of watering,
Yeah, the
You know,
deduct
you're gonna
meter
have a
usually
lot of
people install
calling
for.
you.
So we'll put it on the agenda for discussion for next.
Okay.
month. Or for action,
For action, yeah.
since we can't talk about it because it's not on the agenda.
So
I'll
that'll,
just hold on to this and, yeah.
Bring next month.
that'll be
next
August
month.
4th, or August 1st. I'm sorry.
August 4th,
First.
3rd.
First.
What can you send them can you make a note?
Same time?
Yep, same time.
Thanks you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you
Charlie.
next month.
Any other citizens' comments? We will go on to the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from June 6th and both the water and wastewater bills.
I move that we approve.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll take roll call on that.
Commissioner Lodahl?
Aye.
Commissioner Pasberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Engel?
Aye.
Commissioner Frings?
Aye.
Commissioner Bushby?
Aye. I was gonna say, you could move the library up, but it's only one.
We've only got one.
Next is discussion possible action regarding water rate application performed by Baker Tilly.
I can help you out with that one, make it quick. We might have to table that one. We probably have to call a special meeting to get that application submitted. I think we were looking at the 25th. We ran out of time searching for old documents, but we had room to get it done on time. So,
25th of July.
yes, and I can send, I think it's a Tuesday as well. It's the only day we can squeeze it in. And that would be probably about a 10-minute meeting too.
25th, 4 o'clock. So make sure you send something out.
Yep. Okay, so I'm set up.
Okay, we're gonna table that until we get more information. Next is discussion possible action regarding library impact and connection fees. This is ongoing.
Yeah, so I got the square footage of the basement. It's in the back of the discussion last time was held was we could reduce the square footage of the basement on the library impact and connection fees. First floor square footage is 17,830 square feet. So that takes the reduction of 17,170 square feet from the total.
What are we using for comparables? I went through that list of, I don't see anything similar. Maybe
No,
maybe a retail store will be about as close as it comes.
There isn't, and that's the only thing we can base it off of is that square footage. I mean, there really isn't a comparable other than the square footage use. I mean, the other ones are school, which is by desk, you know,
Yeah.
per employee, per bed at a nursing home. There is nothing that is comparable really to a library.
So you're saying if we take that basement out?
That's what was,
by 70,000.
yeah, that was what was discussed last
Right.
meeting and the information we had to come back with.
Does that work for you folks?
We're on the library board.
Yeah, right, but I mean, if we can, we're trying to think of any way we can do
Makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, I got an email today.
Stay within the statutes.
Yeah, I think Ken sent an email today that was the suggestion as well, was that the library basement space was to be used for storage only. And it was cheaper to add a basement than to,
Would be used, but
That's
hopefully,
That's not the case, I don't think, but realistically, I think, at least at first, it's not gonna be full of people using the bathroom, which is where the water use is gonna be. So
yeah.
what is the impact fee on the,
Yeah, what's the difference between two, if we go with the whole library or take out the basement?
It's in that June 6th packet.
It is, the rest of it is in the back of this one,
Towards the back page.
all the way back. Yeah, and we did our legal on it too, so.
So we can do this?
It was something, was it 30,000?
Yeah, there isn't a PSC ruling on it. The impact fee was based on the meter size, so those are two different. There's impact and there was connection, so water and sewer. Impact was based on the meter, which was a 2-inch meter was $74.64. And then per thousand, it was assessed at 17, I'm sorry, 14,731.20. And it would be 7296.04,
So it cut it in half, essentially.
pretty much. So the total is 14,760 instead of, let's write it where the paper's creased, of course. Let me see. Well, before it was 14,731 plus the 7,000. It was about 22,000 previously.
22 to 14.
14,760.04, and it was, roughly 22,000 before.
We need a motion to remove the basement space from the calculation of what we're looking for.
Yeah,
I will make that motion.
I will second it.
Any further discussion? So we're gonna take out the square footage from the basement and just consider the first floor.
There's our feet on that, yeah.
with fair usage for the traffic.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll take a roll call on that.
Commissioner Rodo,
Aye.
Commissioner Casper,
Aye.
Commissioner Engel,
Aye.
Commissioner Briggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Krzyjewski.
Aye. Next is discussion and possible action regarding deficiencies discovered water tower clean and coat during annual inspection. This looks bad.
We talked about this a little bit last
Yeah.
time. So there's new code, there's new DNR mandate, they're changing all the time. So one of the there's a quote in there, with two options, to modify the current vent or upgrade to the new DNR compliant stainless steel set vent and remove the old, which was $9,500 compared to modifications for $4,500. Our safety cable and climbing system is also well out of date and
Two separate
compliance.
issues.
Two separate issues.
That one we have.
So can you delay this work till we paint this thing, or they won't let you do that?
I mean, it depends, to
That's probably what I would try to do,
try to do,
hold them off as long as we can till we commit
And
to
work it into-
painting.
You know, if you send them all, or notify them we've got plans on painting this, and I can't believe that they would do that you're gonna do the work done there.
I think when we do it though, no matter when we do it, it would be foolish to do the low cost one, because we're gonna have to do the higher cost one sooner or later.
just get it.
Correct, yeah.
Completely compliant right away.
Pretty much.
So that's something I can probably add, if you guys, I can add to budgetary numbers, we can approve again at that time, or however you guys want to
What is
do
the
that.
plan for painting it? Do you have one yet in capital improvements?
It was in capital improvements for 24 or 5, I go off the top of my head, for a 5-year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to look at our options and doing it a little smarter though. You know, try to see if we have options for anyone who wants utilities on top, or if we have options for people that wanna, paint their logo on, just something to take away from some of the impact, because it's not cheap. Are we looking at like 500,000 these days is kind of what we've been getting?
Between 4 and 5, I guess. I mean, they got guys coming to take a look at it.
And then the scheduling is usually a couple years out too, so.
The next year or the year after before they can get at it.
So basically, we're gonna hold off on these repairs until we're forced to buy the DNR or until we paint.
I mean, I guess my thing, as I say to Courtney, is I guess for even to get bids, I gotta know if we're gonna commit to doing it, because they need to know, like, coming up here soon, for next year, they're gonna fill up. So otherwise they book a year ahead of time, because they can only paint, 2 towers a year. Conditions gotta be right, there's only so many guys that do it.
You have to be crazy.
And we had another inspection company, it was one of those contracted companies, do kind of a pre-inspection too. It's something we can bring to you, I don't think it's something that anybody's super comfortable with, but they did the free inspection and, potentially have the the contacts to work in the paint jobs and maybe the cell tower and things like that, that make it a little more cost effective, but it's one of those,
How many contractors are in this area that would do this kind of work?
I think a lot of them come out of like Illinois and,
There's 4 or 5, you know.
I know Brownsville and Leroy are painting their towers later this summer.
Yep.
September.
So I'm gonna go up and talk to Matt.
yeah. So that was some of the initial costs we were talking about, but that would entail, we got the free inspection, but that would entail
This last
a
time,
10-year
was it
contract.
that TIMM coatings or something like that? it was called?
I did a little deep dive in the back room there for a couple days. It was AECom contracted to McGuire Iron.
Oh, that was the new one.
That was the new
That
one?
was the new one.
Okay,
Wire did the new one, right?
I don't
okay.
think we ever did find out who did that old one. I
No.
tried looking that name up and I can't find
Yeah,
out.
it was like TIMM coatings or something like that. I thought they were out of Iowa or Minnesota.
Cause that was the holdup on the audit is because we couldn't find the information for the
Do we
paint
want
at
to
that time.
hold off on the safety cable? Oh, isn't that something we should do?
Well, that was my question, is there? any-
Because there's inspections coming up,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, is there a safety
Nobody's
issue?
really pushing the issue, you know,
Yeah.
it's not that we go up the tower daily or anything, it's
No.
just,
How often do you?
I don't go up, the inspectors go up. You know,
You don't want
once a
any-
year, twice a year, whatever we need it, it's there in case we would need it, it's just no data.
But they do use it. Their climbing equipment, they bring their own climbing equipment, their harnesses
But they
are
still-
compliant, but our equipment isn't compliant.
They tie
Oh,
off.
so they're, I mean, they are, we're not liable for them falling off of the thing.
I don't
No,
know.
it just doesn't hook up right, it's just the data.
That'd be the only thing I'd be worried.
Their equipment's compliant, ours that they're
Okay,
using isn't.
okay, so they just use it.
So going back to, we can have that all done
Same
Correct.
way.
with your bids.
Correct.
So do you want some sort of, consent to go
Yeah, I mean,
over
I
it
can,
and
I can get bids for you, but I
pursue bids
mean,
like crazy? I mean,
they don't let them hang out there for 2 years, I mean, it's probably
Oh, right,
I don't
so
know if it's
60
necessarily
day
an
commitment,
action,
this
but
is what we're
bring
gonna
back
give you,
everything
and then we'll
we
be
can
back.
find.
I think your quotes and bring them back.
Yeah.
Bring everything we can get.
There wouldn't be any other reason for you to go up there. If somebody's gotta go up there, they're gonna come with safety equipment, right?
You're not gonna get him up.
You're not gonna get me out there. No matter how safe that is.
Don't you have a summer help paint that?
In the
Rush
town.
is one going to the Titanic right
You can give them a roller.
Yeah, and the longer we wait, the concern is the longer the wait, the more work they need to do to, clean up the metal. The more bare metal we have showing, the worse it gets, the more it costs
Yeah.
over time too. So sooner than later is probably better.
I can get bids and get it done next year,
there. I agree with that.
2024.
I mean, we do got, and Courtney, you might as well bring it up, there is a contract company trying to get.
That's what I
the
was-
door again, that's where she was headed
Yeah.
with that.
Oh,
Be bluntly honest with you, I don't like it. She likes it, I don't.
Well,
Difference
yes
in
and no. I
interest.
don't like the experience
He
we
wants
had.
us to sign on 15 years of the contract of choice.
To maintain the tower?
Yeah,
I've had so many problems with these well things, I've had it up to here with contracts.
so it's the
And I don't
same
like it.
company essentially as the well contracts, but it's a different, so we're a little leery of the,
The thing is, they'll borrow you the
Business model.
money, they'll front you the money, they'll do this, they'll do
Quite a
that.
Look at the price. and-
yeah, it just, I mean, it stretches out your
Yeah.
Oh.
term, it stretches out your payments is pretty much what it's.
and you can budget for it.
We can try.
But you're committed to them.
Yeah, to that.
So
Well,
now I can't touch my wells, like we talked, I wanted my well pulled before we built this new building. I'm under contract, I can't touch it. I
So,
can't do nothing.
They
and
said there was
nobody
a
else can look
fee
at it but
involved.
them.
We asked about switching to just switch those two and have that inspected as well for was built. And they went back and forth. They said they'd get us a price on switching it. They said there would be a price included, and then they never got back with what that cost would be.
It shows how eager they were to do it.
Yeah, it was out of scope is what we keep hearing.
Everything's out of scope, it's usually your answer with anything you call, and we just, Courtney, that bill's still hanging there for $6,000 on that last one, and I thought it was in scope, but it was not.
Yeah, I don't know if we wanna get involved in something like
Do
that.
something like that again.
Where they change companies and they don't hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, it's been 3 times in the last 3 years.
I actually talked to Horicon, and I think they're stuck with one of these tower contracts, and Cody's not happy. He's waiting for it at the end. If you're basically locked with them for 15 years.
we
for
can,
10 years, and you can't.
we tried the buyout option too on the wells, or just to look in to see what we could do with the wells, and essentially they offered us the buyout option for free, but all the expensive stuff comes at the end, so.
Yep.
So we're
How much is left on that?
for
3
3
or 4
years,
years, yeah.
3 years, so it's already in my calendar for 2.5 years to make sure we get the cancellation before they automatically renew.
So 3 separate issues. One's the safety cable, 2 is the DNR compliance,
Preventing them.
3 is the
The
Paint.
vent,
And the
vent
contract.
and the painting.
The contract's way off. So you're gonna get bids on painting, DNR compliant on the vent, and safety cables to be done in 2024.
Are you guys okay with looking into some sort of like if cell towers are available? Are you okay with looking into some sort of cost
The
reduction?
concern I have is that we've got all kinds of communications equipment on the top of there, because Dodge County as it is now, and that we use for us too.
Oh,
And whatever goes up there, it can't interfere with that.
and okay, so that would be something,
The Clark Street Tower is a tough one, the High Street Tower is already set up for it.
Yeah,
And all the piping and everything is
we
up
would need
there.
to install a rail
Yeah,
on
the
High
Clark
Street.
Street Tower already is where all the county
Right.
stuff is.
So we probably could on, High Street's ready to accept anything we put up
Yeah,
there.
and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Dodge, I'm gonna check with Dodge County if there's any interference.
Mike, you were here for that tower, quick question for you. Any issues with McGuire Iron when they built that tower? Good guys to work with, their
No,
company?
they're fine.
Okay, because they're on that, they're coming to give me a quote on painting. I wasn't here when they did that, so,
Real good.
okay, just wanted to make sure.
You know, another thing, Courtney, you gotta, I think I mentioned this last month, is you've given out, you have all these other people coming in here for their cell towers, you're gonna have more access to the public water supply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, aesthetics. And I don't think, do they do, I don't know that business too well. Do they do external climbs on things like that, or are they gonna
We're gonna go up the.
utilize the center
I
column?
don't know if they can go up on the outside. That'd be exciting for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So either way, and then, just something we threw around was the sponsorship idea, you know, Mike wanted to throw their name on the side and use red letters, or might be weird to put a skag mower next to Mac, I don't know, but.
That would be weird.
But I mean, there's
I like
options,
the cell phone.
there's options out there, but.
And with any contract, then you get the whole city free Wi-Fi. We'd be heroes.
Work that in.
Yeah, right.
There's cities that have that.
See, it just
I'd like to
covers.
find out what Allenton makes here.
While we're at
They
it,
make a lot.
see if when they paint
Look
it,
at the
they
tower
Oh,
on
yeah.
41.
Well,
They
you
make a
gotta
lot of money.
make a call, find out, right?
Jam-packed. You can probably find it if they post their budget too. If I found the, Lemira has incomes from firework permits on there, and it's pretty
All
significant.
right, so we're all good with that one? You're good?
Yeah, that's good.
What's next? Discussion possible. No, there was no,
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
no motion.
You're right, I'm sorry.
Water main placement of parcel 251 on North High Street.
let me be the first one to speak on this. I'm not gonna say too much. I have a pecuniary interest in this because I own the parcel that the water main is on. I brought it up to Courtney. I brought it up originally because I was thinking about selling it. Now I've got someone who's interested in purchasing it. When I bought that, it was years and years ago, as you can see from the deed that's in the back. I knew that the easements were on there, and I figured a way that we could put a house on it, but it wasn't ideal. And the guy who was the water guru at that time, he said he thought in a few years those would be obsolete and would be abandoned anyway. And I asked Courtney originally to see if that was the case. Now, I don't have an interest in doing permanent damage to Mabel's water supply, and so if we can't do it in a way that it will come out so that it's, then we'll forego it. But I do have a buyer for it. My son wants to buy it. He wants to put a house on it. And that would yield some income to the city in the form of more property tax. But it's gonna be really difficult with those water mains in there.
So, yeah, what we kind of found, we started looking into it, and what we found, there's a There's a water line that heads through the woods behind the houses and over to Easy Street, which I think in the past we've had some breaks there,
One for sure.
which are
Is that
difficult.
is that what you're trying to do, is eliminate that goes through there?
Yeah,
And
essentially.
Washington Street would not be a dead end then? Or what?
Well, I think we would need to almost I think that
Washington Street would be.
would be a dead end.
I thought that's our goal, is not to have dead ends for water quality purposes.
The one problem we found though is that we think we have 2 dead ends there already. So we went out and
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
at High Street where the line from the woods comes in and Washington Street comes in, there's a valve on either side. We went out and tested the hydrant because every time he shuts down a valve on, what is it, Easy and
Easy
Highland? It shuts off that whole neighborhood. There is no loop coming from
Was
the
that
other
ever
side.
connected on the top of High Street, connected to that?
I believe it is, I don't know.
I got all the valves open, and if I close the valve.
See,
on
originally
Easy
High
Street,
Street between Turner and Highland Trail was never, there was no development there,
Right.
so that was never on, so that water there, that goes through Keith's property there, that was there for looping it, and not having a dead end
Right.
on Washington
Mhm.
Street.
Well, I know when they put the road through up there, I owned the property, and I forget, it was a whopping assessment they told me I'd have, because they needed to put water through there and sewer,
Yeah.
for my property. And, but they told me I didn't have to pay it until, I connected. Now, I don't know, that there are already other houses along there, so that would be less. So my understanding at that time was there wasn't water that went through up there, and there should be a loop to the other side now.
Well, there's water up there.
Well, what we found though is it's not looped.
Yeah.
So the
I
plans,
can't get it,
the plans show conflicting information, but if we shut off Easy and Highland, it kills everything up to that point. So there's no.
up to that last valve on the
There's
street.
no water coming from the other side. So we don't know if this was never actually connected, if there's a valve that's buried, it doesn't really show that in the plans, but as it sits right now, it's not connected.
And when we had a water main break there, I'm sure I had to shut off up on High Street to get that shut off.
But right in front of that
Washington-
parcel, you
There is one on High Street in the curb.
Right.
You could shut off to shut through that woods, but I don't think that's connected over to High Street. It's on the line that goes through the woods.
And that point, I found a plat map, I don't know if maybe I didn't put it in there. There was a plat map in there, so that development where those 2 valves would have connected, that's exactly where the development ended and a new one started later. So maybe it was never,
I don't
it's the exact
know.
spot, it
What
was.
is the access to his lot is off of Easy Street?
Well, it's kind of a weird thing because I've got access on Easy Street and I've also got access into Washington Street. So it's.
But your address on that, Keith, your physical address for that is High Street,
High
correct?
Street, yeah, that's right.
Correct, it's got a High Street
High.
address, but it's easier to get, I think, from Washington Street because of the lay of the land.
That was donated to the city by the developer and.
The plans we found is to follow that water line where your property is, that was called Summit Drive. Right, Courtney, on some of them
Yeah.
proposals, it was called, High Street wasn't there, it was
It's
supposed
hard
to
to
be
follow plans since all the
Summit
streets
Drive,
were
and
named
that's where
something
some of
different.
our water lines are drawn on.
So what's the solution here?
Well, we have an issue through the woods to start with, where we have an older line. I know it's been talked about being abandoned before. If it's buildable, Washington Street would have to dead end, and we'd probably have to do some exploratory on High Street to see what went wrong and why it's not.
We were always gonna find a T that feeds that to the north up from Washington Street, but we never followed through on it.
We tried tracing through that woods. It's pretty thick right now. It's not easy to find anything in there. I don't know, you could possibly connect.
But the easiest suggestion would be to cut and cap on Easy Street, come off the last valve on High Street, get to the other valve or find where the piping is up towards Turner, put them 2 together, just to span everything down and through that woods. It would probably, hopefully, there's never a break in that woods, apparently there was at one time.
And it was.
The guy told me-
Garage there on the.
His basement flooded, he told me. He said it was pretty ugly and you're on a side hill working through a woods. Could you disband it now that it loops through the top? Yeah, probably pretty easy.
60s, 70s.
It's an easy fix,
60s,
you know,
early
but
70s.
it's up to you guys to get the lot out of it. it would be good to get that pipe disbanded out of there and not use that pipe. I believe that pipe's pretty old. That was probably edge of town at one time. Assuming it's all, the only
Yeah,
thing that
that
would,
had to be in the early nineties, I worked on that.
I mean, the only thing is you have your dead end at Washington Street, but, I mean, they put the whole west side of town in dead ends.
Mhm. Yeah, so on
So
my
the
map, you can
cul-de-sacs
kind of,
are
we
bad.
kind of mapped it that way, that there's not really a connection in between, there's a break in that.
We just, it may connect, and I just can't figure out where or how, and the valves are all open, we just went and tried them, and
So what about this? If they figure out what it'll take to do that, come back with a number. Say it's gonna cost $10,000 for us to do
Another
it.
thing, Tim, you gotta remember, that's a pretty long dead end too, and you're gonna end up with what you had on Green Bay Drive on the.
Yeah. we could, yep. You know, so it's a pretty long block there.
Need more information, I think,
It's all unknown
What's it
is the
gonna cost?
problem.
to make that lot buildable.
Well, are you thinking that it should be something I would pay? Because if that's the point, then forget it,
Because it'd be more than,
it's gonna be more than that lot is worth.
no, I would say,
Well.
It ain't gonna be cheap
the
to
return, right there.
Return on.
You're gonna make
investment would be the-
$3,000-4,000 a year in taxes. I mean, they're looking at the whole picture,
The benefit to the city as far as the taxes,
and what's it gonna cost us.
the taxes and water
If it's
billing.
$10,000 and you're gonna make $4,000 a year in taxes, you're gonna pay for 2 years.
I don't know what the
Return on
project would
investment.
cost, but it
Yeah, that's what I mean.
would also be beneficial to not have that line running at an angle through that woods.
That lot is deemed buildable though.
That way it was when I got it, and we figured out a way to put a house on there. At this point in time, I was trying to remember what we came up with, and I can't. But I was gonna put a house on there when I got the lot.
It's hard to see in there. I can't, it's so much brush. I don't know how steep it is.
The lot here, yeah.
And I don't know if there's other lots in there.
Yeah, that's
Courtney, is there other lots in there besides just Keith's? Is there vacant, because there is two to the south that have got
Yeah.
water lines to them.
Yeah,
Is there another 2 or 3 lots in there? I don't know.
yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 buildable lots left there.
Past my lot, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
this
think
would
there are
benefit more than just,
Bakuber,
Back here, too.
Well, them 2 are on that existing line. There's already water stubbed in there.
Yeah, it goes, supposedly goes all the way through.
yeah. And then you'd if you do break that again, you're not flooding the downhill basements either. But something we can look into assessing costs.
I
and
don't
if
know how
the-
old that line is going through that woods. I'm thinking it's quite
That's
old.
gotta be seventies.
I think that,
I think early 70s, I was finding, like on that plat, it was a little earlier in the 70s.
they don't cast or dump the line coming through there.
More than that.
Where's it on here?
60.
Yeah?
Oh, here's the parcel, right here.
no, there's Keith. Law, yeah.
Yep, so it runs all the way through the back here between the houses, that water line.
Unless there's a valve that's
Here's
not
Easy Street.
marked or something. The 2 that I got records of are
Pretty big
open,
easement.
and I don't know why that dies. So I just always questioned if that was ever connected.
Oh, I shut that off, I shut off on the east end of Washington, I shut down on Easy, then there was one up on High, I shut that.
Right on the curb. Yep, that's a
Shut
deep
that
one.
off.
And that's open, but if you go just where that deep one is, just to the north, there's one right in the center of the street. You can see where the blacktop is, that was where that High Street subdivision ended. Did they actually connect them to? I
That's
don't
where we're at.
know,
We're
that's
stuck
where
with
we're
the
stuck, is
plans
right there, is that a
Developing
dead end
plans.
valve at the top of the hill? I don't know if they ever connected them or not.
The way it sits, it doesn't appear that
We-
they're,
We can't find plans for any of that.
we found plans, but they conflict each other.
Thank you.
There's 2 different as-bills. They
It's a
both-
big lot, third of an acre, so I'm sure they
It's a big lot. The trouble is it's on a pretty good incline.
And your setbacks are funny with a triangle.
Yeah. So it's not an easy lot necessarily to stick a house on, and then you put a couple of easements through there and it makes it even more exciting.
well, there's Bakuber there, that's not built on.
I didn't think actually it was gonna be possible to build on until that fellow built the house. It goes down the hillside there on the far end. That came up.
On High Street.
Yeah, that came up pretty nice.
I wouldn't want to take the wrong step.
Yeah, they need an elevator if you're going to the basement there on the first.
Doesn't come to Medicare and see next week.
I mean, it's,
Well, yeah, it would be right next to you that they put that one there.
There are a couple of lots in between.
Where do we go from here?
we can look at,
You wanna get that cost?
I can give us a call. Put a number on it.
It's gotta start somewhere.
There are no plans, he isn't up there with a shovel ready to dig now. It'll probably be a couple of years before he's ready to put a house on, so if it takes a little while to come through this, that's perfectly fine.
well, and then we can look into, because the infrastructure funding is something that's pretty strong right now too.
That
So
would
we
be
can look
good.
into maybe the cost aspect of that too.
I mean, if it's $100,000 and you're gonna make $4,000 a year in taxes, probably doesn't make sense, but if it's
No.
$10,000 and you're gonna make $3,000 to $4,000.
Only about half his house goes to the city.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be interesting with funding though too, because we're possibly creating one dead end, but eliminating two others as it sits. So, I mean, it's kind of a toss up unless somebody has some better planning in that.
The big advantage is what Tim was talking about. You've got something there that's, we're waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that,
that's gonna be costly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Same with metal
Just
craft.
know the guy in the end said it broke at one time and it flooded his basement and the neighbors, the guy in the end at Easy Street. It
Insurance,
must have broke down on that end somewhere in the woods back there behind his house. I don't know the guy who lives there.
His garage face Easy Street. The
yeah,
front of the house faces Marguerite Court.
Yep, yep.
And it broke beyond that garage there.
Yep, he said by the neighbor's house.
that was
Flooded
complicated
everything.
because it
Isn't
wasn't
there kind of like a
accessible with,
retaining wall there?
I think so.
we had, it wasn't anything to do with the utility, but I know one year we got a lot of rain and the person that lived in the last house on Washington Street on the south side called and wanted me to pay for their basement being redone because water had come down the hillside into their house,
Off your line.
off my lot. And I told them to have a nice day and I never heard about it.
So we're gonna check into that and get back.
Sure.
Keep
do some
working on it.
cost
I mean-
assessments.
Gotta start somewhere. So there's no action.
All right,
Well, next is discussion possible action regarding meeting date, time for Water and Wastewater Treatment Commission.
we need
kinda-
to bring this back for an official on the
We
record, whatever.
Talked
your
about this
decision is.
unofficially last month. So I guess I'd be looking for a motion to change the time of the meeting.
Well, is our only problem Mr. Newman or is
Yeah.
Smith also?
I don't know, Roger said, I thought that,
He couldn't make it today because he
Yeah.
had something for a holiday for his family or whatever. There was nothing work related.
And if there's no motion at time.
that's my thought.
Right.
And the consensus was off the record last time, that nobody was interested in. So is anybody interested in changing the time?
I like it this way.
I do too. When I got on this board originally, I had to rearrange some things that I was doing fairly regularly on Monday nights in order to make that 7 o'clock meeting. And when it switched to 4, I thought this is good. So life got better.
So there is no motion?
Life is very good.
No motion.
So I guess that's it. No action on that.
Nice.
Next is a water report, well and distribution system report discussion.
Alright, water or well number 4 project is underway. If you've been by there lately, there is, no building and no iron tank there anymore. Crews are working on site prep and the under street work is set for, this week, really, right now.
What happens under the street? What are they?
So they needed to reroute the piping because the iron discharge tank across the street was permitted to discharge to the river. And we have to reroute that, to get it back to sanitary. It's gonna discharge to sanitary. And then the underground, any conduit,
But it's still
anything
gonna go
that's
through
not
that filter across the street and then
It's
it's.
gonna go in the holding tank and it's gonna get pumped up into the sanitary.
Mhm.
How are they safeguarding the well while it's in the open like this?
They built a structure to put around it. And it's, yeah, they did have one incident, I think somebody broke their window on their loader on the site already, so I think.
Vandalism?
What's that?
A vandalism incident? Nice.
Yeah, so it's been through PD, but,
I suppose next they'll be bringing the spray paint out too.
yeah, there's some, cameras there now, so.
I have to say, I drove by there the other day and I think it looks 100% better than what it did.
Just gone.
Oh,
The neighbor commented too that he likes the view better and asked if we could just stop right there and not.
No, I don't think so.
Can note according to that, the road will be closed here for.
Yeah, the road, while they do this, we had a little conversation with them and the road work was scheduled to be, I think, in fall
I remember you saying.
of next year, and we didn't want to interfere with the morning school traffic since you're going from right around the corner so we thought it would be better to do that in the
Yeah.
summer months, so they changed that construction schedule.
How long is it gonna be down?
A week.
Oh, really?
Not, well,
3 to
depends
4
on-
days,
we're
that's
gonna say a week, but.
So I mean, it might have the option to be partially open, but they closed it down.
What is RG Schmidt doing that work?
See, told you.
I seen their trucks going by the house today, I wondered what they were doing.
Yep.
That's,
They're
so
gonna be
they should
opening
only be
streets
here for a
tomorrow,
couple of
putting
days.
houses in.
Yep. And then we have one house that, that is gonna be affected for a water shutdown. There's only one on the corner, Henninger and Kikoski.
Never mind.
9 years.
Temporary shutdown.
Temporary, yep, they've
Just for
been,
tomorrow.
just tomorrow, yeah, they've been notified. Let's see here, pre-construction meetings for Meadowcraft and Alley Street aren't set yet. I'm told they should be at the end of July, and then both projects are set to start in August. Hydrant painting is complete. Have you seen any of them? We had 47 hydrants done. After this round, I think we're probably good for a year or two, and we can back off the hydrant painting.
I seen they did that on a Saturday, huh?
They were here, I think, Friday, and then they came back to finish up on,
Their compressor went down on Friday.
Because I seen they were on my street on Saturday.
yep, they do pretty quick work. If the permit for well number 4, we were just talking with the iron discharges to the river, we got that well number 4 portion of it eliminated, so it's dropped from the permit forever. And I think that's about it for water. You said question?
Any questions?
So they gotta put that new tank, iron filter in the well before they build it?
So they're gonna build the structure, like 4 walls, and then I guess they're craning it in
To the top?
through the top.
It'll be here in February.
Oh, really?
They actually, I don't know if you included it in the packet or not, they gave us a timeframe.
I didn't, but
Okay.
it's a completely
Every day they got
very
it broke
well
down, week to
documented
week, what to
timeframe
do.
on when.
If you wanna see
where
one, I can
schedule's
get
gonna
one to you, it's kinda neat.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
So they are
Which one?
working to, site prep right now, and then footings are coming within the next 2 weeks, and they've been right on track with, everything, I think so far, like,
They're on
to the date, it's been pretty good.
So the abandoning that curb stop for the service line there for the toilet net, or?
No, we're gonna bring another one back in, a new service level off the main, so we can also use that as distribution site.
Okay.
We're putting, the main feed out, we just talked
Right.
about that this morning. Then we're gonna put a 1-inch line in, separate, about
Good
10 feet
idea.
off.
Just for sampling
Yep, just one-
purposes mostly.
that would tie into the
and then
distribution
figure out-
system.
So you're sampling from the whole system.
Did you get any of your copper samples that we took care of back?
So we called them today. We had to add 2 to the sampling list, and we got those 2 back, and then we've been waiting like another 2 weeks. We called Northern Lake today, and she kept wondering why we kept bugging her about samples, because she said she sent them to us, but the file was too big, so it never actually came. She sent them repeat, so they had to contact IT. Now they're here.
We had to change the format they sent it because it was such a big
They
file.
had to
we
get their
couldn't send
IT
it to an
involved
email.
to, we have one
Everything looked good?
we have 1 exceedance still.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect, it's not an action level, it's only 1 house.
Or is
The
that-
what? 103
Yeah,
South
Miller.
John.
On Allen Street.
David Miller. I don't
Yep,
know if
David
they-
Miller.
Well, that, yeah.
The water usage is next to nothing.
But
for
his
the
went
entire
from
year.
130 to 19. So,
But he doesn't have a lead line anymore, right?
Nope. So it's just, I think the internals that are, I mean, there's water barely creeping through that house ever, I don't think.
he's got to use 1 unit of water in 2 years.
So that, yeah, 748
The
gallons in 2
accumulation that
years.
happened from when he had a lead lateral and it's still
Yeah.
sitting in his pipes.
Yep.
I thought it was
Well,
impossible. But he
Soldered joint, right, yeah.
Yeah, anything.
Better check that meter.
No, he just is very frugal with water usage.
I talked to the gentleman and
That's
nice
Mr.
stuff,
Miller's
guy,
son,
dude,
you know
nice
that,
guy.
right?
Hey, good number, dude.
Yep.
David.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Frugal fella.
That explains it.
All right, anything else?
That firewood with an axe.
It's all in the garage.
Next is wastewater report.
All right, cleaning and televising is done for the year. Great Lakes was here. Same with televising. We have the whole city done, so we should be able to back off of next year's budget on that. I don't think we'll need to televise anything because we have recent data in the last 4 to 5 years. Manhole repairs to Mary Street, were almost completed today. They packed up when the rain was supposed to be coming, so there's 2 of 5 done. Back in January, we did, the lining on Mary Street, and then they were coming back in nice weather to,
So are they putting liners?
yep, lining the entire structure. So they got 2 out of 5 done, and they'll be back tomorrow for
How
more.
many manholes do we have left that are in tough shape?
A lot. Yeah, I mean, if we did what we're doing right now to Mary Street on everything in the city, we'd button up a lot of problems, but you'd probably be at the tune of millions by that point.
So we just keep chipping away?
Yeah, and we have that.
Yes, well, and that's tough to do too, because we, every year is different in the amount of rain that we get, but I'm just wondering how much freshwater infiltration we've managed to cap with that.
It's so hard to tell what kind of impact you make because the flow is different every day. And then you have things like right now, the ground's not saturated. I can tell you that because I tried to stick those flags in front of the well houses and I needed a screwdriver. But, you have groundwater saturation. It's gonna catch the ground first. If the ground's already saturated, then we seem to get more of the I&I. And you just never know what all the factors that come into play with it. I think we've made a dent. Is it measurable? Maybe not.
Well, the big one, we all know, the big impact was when they put the new line into my house. That took care of the majority of it.
It's
The rest
been a
of this
minute on
is just
that
kind of
one.
window dressing.
Been a minute.
Yeah,
Got the golden lateral.
oh, geez. And it makes me proud to be an American every time I think about it.
Salute every morning.
On the record.
At
Perfect.
least.
Chemical phosphorus removal, the DNR had us write a standard operational practice, so that's been submitted to the DNR. Between Mike Kelly and I, we wrote up a practice and we're waiting for them to approve that. And then September of 24 will be the end of our current permit. Took a little work, but we got the documentation that the DNR wanted. Of course, they don't tell you any of this before your budgetary season. It's not that bad. We have to do a bunch of testing to get our permit reissued. It's 1,800 for all the sampling parameters, and it's nothing we've ever tested for before. It's all pretty much,
Like what? PFAS.
it's all like the benzenes and all really long things with Z's and O's and N's in it that,
A lot of
Can't
chemicals,
say.
a lot of
VOCs.
chemical stuff, yes.
It's a lot of
VOCs,
chemical stuff.
IOCs, they're looking for all of that.
it's a lot of things that we usually test for in sludge, but they want it
Metals.
from effluent. So we don't have that data currently, but there's a lot. So
But we
1,800.
never had in our sludge either. Any of those?
Well, they just don't want the sludge data. They don't care. They want the effluent data to issue us a permit. So we've eliminated a lot of things through our permit in the last couple of years that were enforced, like temperatures and things like that. So I think if we have time right now to do this and monitor and go back and forth with them and reason and make this a pretty good permit, hopefully. we'll see. So that's about it.
Any questions on wastewater?
Have you had any reaction to the hearing on the new plan?
No, nothing since the hearing.
Nobody wanted a tour?
I have to set that up yet. Annie was gone, but she was my only access to the Facebook page,
Okay.
and that's where they wanted it set up. So I think towards the end of July, just today, we created our own Facebook page with the recommendation. So it's like Mayville, Wisconsin, water and wastewater utility. I didn't want anyone thinking we were electric or gas or anything else, but
Cable TV?
yeah. So I guess every department has their own page now, so things like the road closure I put on there today, there's no following in, an hour, but that's my usual, call somebody and see if they can put it on the nosy neighbor or something for me, cause I can't, so.
About utility bill too.
And on the, utility bill, so, I mean, that's where our important stuff goes, it's probably a little smarter for us to have something than try to find, Annie Sunday to, put on there that a road closure happened or a water mains clear. Cause that was my other access, so we just have our own, we can update from anywhere.
And that makes sense.
Yeah,
I will say, I've been watching since Annie's been in, that our city Facebook page has improved. And it's gonna have to, I know I'm on the communications committee, and that's gonna be a major focus going forward, when we get some money to do something.
yeah,
But I think it is wise to have our own page.
Yeah. so it started today, I know Annie had a little bit of a problem starting it, but we hope to kind of get it rolling and then, get our information out that way. We've been in the situation before, but nothing ever happens during a workday. I think, was it 4th Street? I was trying to get a hold of somebody, it was a weekend, their only access is here, I can't get that public information out, and that's where everybody wants their information from, so. So that's what we did, now I can do it from anywhere with service.
A mistake would be though to think that social media would replace, for example, a Pioneer or.
Right,
There has to be some official organ that we use.
well, and your availability, most of those functions I turned off because that's not a place to message every question at midnight and, that's all turned off. If
You don't
you
wanna go to the nosy neighbors?
go to the proper source and they ask the questions, I don't
Is
wanna
that where I
answer.
got the paper from?
Yeah.
We weren't friends?
No, it's from,
But it's kind of a relief.
utility page.
Friends?
Are we friends?
Sorry.
Are we
Yeah, I
friends?
think so. Good.
Are we friends?
Good. 25th should be a very short one, and we can set up we could probably even do strictly Zoom or something if we.
No, I don't mind, I can
Okay,
write it on my calendar.
yeah, just the audit timeline is in a crunch and, that,
So that's for
that
the
room
rate
isn't the,
increase,
yep,
rate study.
great study.
Study.
The
Anything
back
else?
isn't the nicest.
Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Next meeting, August 1st, 4 PM.